Hi, I'm Freddie.
And I'm Chantal.
And we're the authors of His,
Her,
Now, Together. This is Awesome Week, ladies and gentlemen. This is week 16.
Yes.
And we received so many positive feedback from our video blogs. And so we're excited. And this topic today is going to be a very unique topic that I think you will appreciate as a couple as it relates to marriage.
Yes. Well, this week we're going to talk about infidelity within marriage relationships. And basically we're going to talk about the different types of infidelity, how to affair-proof your relationship, and also how to remain connected emotionally and physically within your marriage, which also helps to prevent infidelity within your relationship. And also, if infidelity has occurred within your relationship, how to get over that emotional roller coaster and how to process it and how to get healed from it. And also, we're going to talk about how you can start off afresh from this day forward in basically keeping your marriage affair-proof.
And Chantal, what was the breakdown? How was it broke down?
Well, basically, I talked with different couples and, asked them, well, what is something that you want to know? And so that's kind of how we came up with these questions and things that we're going to address. And so the first thing we're going to address, we're going to talk about the different types of infidelity. Because a lot of people think that infidelity occurs strictly if it's physical. But you have to understand that an emotional infidelity occurs first before the physical. So we're going to talk about that, and then we're going to talk about the physical infidelity.
The first one is the emotional. And we as men, we're sight dominant, and what we see is what arouses us. What we, it gets into our spirit. Yes. It gets into our desires. And so a lot of times when we distance ourselves from our spouse emotionally, we open ourselves up to the fictitious, to the fantasy of someone else. And we notice that, in relationship of talking with different couples, and me as a man speaking and mentoring men, we talk about these issues where, how did the affair occur? It occurred emotionally. My needs emotionally was not met at home. I didn't get, and for example, can be, my wife didn't tell me how good I looked. She didn't tell me how I smelled good, and I went to work, I went to the job, I traveled, and I became emotionally attached to someone else and vicariously detaching myself from my spouse. So that's the first portion of one open door for infidelity within marriage. And Chantal?
Yes, like Freddie was saying, that emotional, because a lot of times, what happens is that when you have day-to-day situations, day-to-day disagreements, it starts off like this in terms of you and your spouse being detached emotionally. And then if those issues are not dealt with, eventually it starts to grow bigger, and bigger. And before you know it, your spouse is over here and you're over here. And then you don't feel any type of intimacy, or you don't feel any type of connection. So what that does, that opens the door for you to go outside of the relationship and find yourself attaching emotionally to someone else. And so you feel as though you're getting your needs met out there emotionally in terms of someone to talk to, laugh with, and then you make that connection with someone else rather than remaining connected to your spouse. The thing is that you don't wait till it gets to that point. Deal with the issues right then. Deal with those small things right then. And so if you do that, then that prevents you from having to go out anywhere else and getting those needs met.
Great point, Chantal. One of the things is a story in which it was told by a young man that was on a fishing. He was in a canoe, and he didn't tie off the end to the shore.
Yes.
After a few hours, he fell asleep in the canoe, and he found himself in the middle of the lake in a storm. Didn't know how he got there, and actually he was drifting.
Yes.
When he's supposed to tie off that rope to a tree, he didn't tie off his ring vows. He didn't tie off the covenant.
Yes.
And as he become distanced mentally, emotionally from his spouse, he began to drift out into the middle of the lake. And when he woke up, he was in trouble. How many men, I'm talking to men, was in that same boat?
Yes.
Initially, they was tied by the rings, tied by the covenant. And as they became occupied mentally with their arousement or their fictitious or their fictional character, they got caught up in the midst of a storm and realized and say, how can I come back and tell my spouse that I done messed up?
Yes.
If you don't stay in communication, you don't stay in relationship,
Right.
you will not be connected to your spouse.
Exactly.
And that causes distance.
Right, right. And also as women, we are emotional beings. And so we need to make sure that we talk to our spouse. And also husbands to, for your wives to feel as though that they are talking. Because a lot of times, the first thing most men say, oh, well, my wife is nagging me and this and that. And yes, you have to be careful in how you say things and how you convey things across. Yeah. But at the same time, husbands, what your wife is saying is that I need my needs met. And she's looking to you. So what may come across as nagging is actually her cry out to you that she wants her needs met by you. And then, you just have to be careful in how you share certain things and, and allow those things to work itself out. Now, the next thing we're going to talk about is physical infidelity, which when the emotional infidelity occurs, then that's when the physical infidelity or act possibly can occur. And so, the thing is that you have to be careful. Like you said, as long as that emotional doesn't take place first, disconnection, then you can possibly prevent the physical from actually occurring.
It's so important, Chantal, what you said about the emotional. In actuality, the emotional is an open door. That's the first step. Because when you open yourself, your heart open,
yes, to
hear and entertain others, your physical body will follow.
Yes.
Mind over matter. If your mind, your heart and your mind is this is what I want, your body's going to follow it. Mm-hmm. And no matter what it looks like in the physical aspect, a lot of men have said, well, my spouse, she had my kids and she done gained weight, or she had an accident, she don't look the same. Your commitment, your covenant, your vow to your spouse and God is more stronger than that physical out appearance.
Yes.
It's that individual. And we have to be so mindful of the fact that we have to know that physical is just an outer portion.
Yes.
But it's important when you're going outside of your relationship. If you don't watch it, the physical attraction will take you places. And I talked about it earlier. It's a fiction.
Yes, it's fantasy.
It's fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
When the reality comes down to it, you find yourself in the middle of that lake. You're in the midst of a storm.
Yes.
And your life is turned upside down because you went out and you said, I needed to do what I had to do. And what? We had a saying, some men go 15, 30 seconds and you lose it all.
Yes.
It's like rolling dice.
Yes.
You rolling dice and you're going to make one dice. You make 7, 7, 7. You may hit a 4 and a 3. That's not 7, 7 the way it's supposed to be. That's a fantasy.
Yes.
Don't get caught up in the physical, guys.
Yes, yes. And also just going to the next, to how to affair-proof your relationship. Like Freddie was saying, that when you go out of the relationship, that is a fantasy. Mm-hmm. That is not the real. Mm-hmm. That is not real. And so, but your relationship with your spouse is what's real. Mm-hmm. And so the first thing is that you want to have the mentality that you want to keep what is real. Mm-hmm. And you want to bring in the fantasy. Right. You want to bring in the excitement. Mm-hmm. You want to bring in the desires, the wants. And, a saying we have is that don't let your spouse leave home hungry. Mm-hmm. And I know some of you have heard that saying. And so that is so important, because think about it. When you go to a store, if you are hungry, you're going to pick up some stuff that you don't need to pick up. Mm-hmm. Everything will look appetizing to you because you are hungry.
That's right.
And so, and I want to say, myself personally, I'm not hungry. I don't leave the house hungry, because you know what? My husband fills me up.
That's right.
He fills me up.
And for me, I want to say that, guys, you see me, I'm smiling. That means I'm full. My stomach is full. And I tell you what, and we as men, we have a problem with conveying to our spouse our needs.
Yes.
I tell Chantal, I'm hungry. I just said, I'm hungry. I want some food. I want some soul food. I want some appetizers. You know what? And to know that my spouse is ready to prepare the table for me.
Yes.
When I leave out this house, I'm not hungry.
Yes.
And most men, they leave out their homes and they're hungry. What happened when you go to the grocery store? You go to the action aisle. You find all the junk food, mm-hmm. the food that nobody wants to purchase. But they will sell it to you because you're hungry. And you take those items and you eat those items. You bring those items home. Yes. And what happened? You're sick. You're no good for nobody. Why? Because you stepped out of the realm yes. of what? Reality, and went into a fantasy. Because the commercial said, this is something good for you. I can see you wearing this. I can see you wearing this. Yes. But it's not for you.
Yes.
Your reality is within your relationship with your spouse.
Yes, yes, that is so true. And so like Freddie was saying, is just to make an effort to make sure to meet your spouse's needs and to have those desires, and knowing that you can have those desires met at home and that you don't have to go out to the fantasy, because when all that's said and done, it's going to crumble. Because like I said, on the day that you made your vows, you made a commitment and a covenant before God and man to say, I keep my bodies only unto you. And so basically what happens is that when you take your body and you join it with someone else, what you have done, you have devalued your commitment. You have devalued your relationship, that sacred covenant that you made. And that's why it's so devastating. And so if infidelity has occurred within your relationship, you're going to go through an emotional roller coaster. These are for people who have experienced this. You're going to go through the hurt. You're going to go through the anger, the bitterness, the resentment, and even a feeling a sense of rejection because you feel as though you couldn't meet your spouse's need. They had to go elsewhere. But first of all, each person is responsible for what they do. It's not your spouse's fault for what you did. Like I always say, you know what? I can't control what Freddie does, but you know what? I can control what I do. And so if people take the responsibility for themselves, they would have a sense of more of accountability to their spouse in terms of what they do and don't do.
And Chantal, the last portion which Chantal spoke about, we have to have accountability to each other.
Yes.
After we've been married for X amount of years, going on 16 years,
yes,
we should know our spouses when that's our time. Yes. When we need food, when we need something to keep us stable, and making sure that we don't go out the house hungry. That's accountability. So, baby, I know you haven't eaten in the last few weeks. I think it's time for me to give you a plate. You know what? We're accountable. And we have to make sure that our actions, because our decisions to go outside of the relationship, outside of the marriage, it just don't affect us. Yes. If there's children involved, it affects the children.
Yes. It
affects our loved ones, our family members, our associates, our friends. So therefore, we must be mindful of our actions. And, another thing Chantal mentioned about rejection, that's a powerful thing, is when one spouse has stepped out of the marriage. Sometimes the one is considered the victim in the aspect, feel rejection. And then they feel as if I have to go out and make it even. I got to do it too.
Yes.
No, that's a dangerous. Two wrongs don't make a right.
Exactly.
And so, but there is hope. We want to let you know that there is hope. It's going to go through some stages. It's not going to be easy.
Yes.
But first of all, we talked in a previous video about forgiveness. And if you can't get a chance, go back and look at the old video about forgiveness.
Yes.
Internal and external, because if not, it will affect your relationship.
Yes, because if you don't deal with those feelings and you don't process those feelings, it will come up again later. You may think, oh, well, we're over it and everything, but you have to allow yourself to go through the process and discuss, this is how it hurt me, and this is how, it angered me, and being able to express, and that spouse having an open heart to hear what that person has to say. And then the person who has gone out, you need to come and you need to express, well, this is what I felt I wasn't getting that opened the door for me to go out. Not saying that it's that person's fault, but at the same time, what was the steps that led to?
Correct.
And just being transparent about that. And the final thing we're going to talk about is how to start over afresh. If you have gone through this, this is what we want to share with you. It's not a hopeless situation. You can start off afresh. But the thing is that both of you have to have a commitment to want to make it right and to continue for it to continue right. And so this is something you need to discuss starting today, and then make a vow to one another that no matter what, no matter how hard times come or what may come, we're gonna remain connected so that we don't go out hungry, and that we're going to get our needs met at home.
That's right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a unique topic. We may have a part 2 for the next week, so we're not for certain. We're going to look at the returns from the followers and what they suggested we talk about. But it's an awesome, awesome, awesome topic.
Exactly.
Once again, we're signing off from His,
Her,
Now Together. Thank you.